Today in Smackey's Garage, we're going to be installing this Holley Terminator X kit from Anderson Ford Motorsports on this 1994 supercharged Mustang race car. Alright, so a little bit of background on this car and this project. You know, this was my original 1994 Mustang that I bought 21 years ago. I currently have two other Mustangs. I have this 69 beside me, then I have a Shelby GT 500 in the other garage over there. This was the original one that I had that pretty much started it all. And the story behind this is this car is still in my family. You can go ahead and check out that previous video that I talked about this car and when I brought it to the shop. So go ahead and check that out. Now when I originally bought this car, I used it for drag racing. I ended up putting the TwEECer RT on it, which was pretty much one of the only tuners available at this time that I thought was affordable. And it still has it today, and that's what it's running off of. And we're at the point where it's probably best to get a more modern, intuitive system in it, which is this Holley system here. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at everything that comes in this box. I didn't realize how much stuff it was, so we're gonna go ahead and let's take a look at everything. All right, so this is a little bit more involved than I originally expected. It definitely comes with a lot of parts, and we're gonna go through and see what comes with it. Now with this kit, I literally bought I believe I bought all the options with it. So this Holley part looks like it's connectors of some style that are gonna have to be put together. And it's a map sensor. We have the Holley Terminator X. So this is the ECU computer, the EFI system that we're gonna be running. We have this white box, which is the USB harness. So this might be the connector for tuning. Oxygen sensor, wideband. I believe the car has this one in it, but we'll check. This is the LCD system, so that comes with it. So this is this display, the Terminator X display. We have a gigantic harness, which I would say it's really nice. Everything's labeled, so everything looks decent. Yeah, it's really nice that everything's labeled. It's gonna make this hopefully a little bit easier. It's like injectors, WBO2, maybe that's wideband 2. This is another harness. Looks like some sort of big power harness. Another wire, mounting bracket for the ECU computer, another harness. It's like a place to put in the wideband if I need it, but I have it. And then instructions. And more instructions. The harness kit, so wiring do's and don'ts. It's like a diagram for wiring. And then the quick start manual. So yeah, this looks like it's gonna be a pretty involved install, I think. So let's go ahead, now that we have everything laid out, I probably should read through all these documents and then we can continue on. All right, so I reviewed all the literature that came with this, and you know, smart to do that because there's a lot of loose wires that have to be kind of wired in to this to make it work. There's also specific notes from Anderson Ford Motorsports on how to make this work for the 94-95 Mustang. So this is a kit that they adapted from the Fox body to this specific vehicle. And with that, we're gonna need to make some changes, and they're all in here. So with all this, you know, it's really doesn't look that bad. First step is I have to take out the injector harness, I have to take out the ECU, and then the main harness. And to get to a lot of this, I have to take out the intake manifold. So looks like, here we go, it's time to take the car apart. All right, so here's the engine that we're gonna be working on. It's the 5.8 liter supercharged. It's a 351W running the Pro Charger as we were talking about earlier. So the injector wiring harness is all under there. So I think the only way I'm going to be able to get to it, or get to it easily, is to end up taking off the intake and working from there. Just looking through this, a lot of the harnesses are run back here, so I got to figure out how to do all this, and you know, with that intake off, it's going to make things a lot easier. So looking at a lot of the aftermarket stuff on here, I definitely have to start writing down and mapping out where things go, because I can see there's a map sensor back here. I don't know exactly where a lot of these things are going, so I'm gonna have to start drawing this out. I do remember there used to be a trick with this, because looking at this, there's definitely a screw there I'm not going to be able to get to. So I got to figure this one out. I can get to it with I think if I take off the throttle body. But this is becoming more and more take things apart. All right, looks like we got this off. That gasket is solid as a rock. But with that off, I should be able to now lift this intake up to get access to everything that I need to take these wiring out. All right, so I got the elbow off, I got the throttle body disconnected. There's enough room here for me to actually do the work and get this intake up and off, I believe. But I ran into a problem, and it's not a problem with the car. It's a problem with the tool that I apparently don't have. All right, so to get this intake off, you can see the bolts there. They're actually 12 point. The bolts up there, they're 12 point. So all the bolts to take this off are 12 point. Coming over to my toolbox, I have a ton of sockets, but I literally have 0 12-point sockets. Like every single set is 6 point. All right, so I guess I gotta get some sockets for this to make this work. So I'm gonna place an order. They'll be here right now. All right, so all the sockets and everything that I need are here. It took a few days to get here, but I now can take the intake off. So I'll be able to use these 12 points on these 2 top ones, maybe 2 of those bolts, but those are gonna need open ends. All right, so the intake is off. Obviously there's been a lot of mice living in this car, so I gotta clean a lot of that area out before I do take the wiring out there just to make it clean. So the intake's actually been ground down to fit this engine combination. So looks like there's some grinding up here for the hood, but there's also some grinding underneath that is required to make it clear the fuel rails. And you can see some of the grinding on the fuel rails as well. The other thing that needs to get fixed is this one of these flanges is actually cracking. So it either needs to be replaced or repaired. I'm going to see if I can get it repaired first before I spend the money to go ahead and replace it. It's not cracking on the sealing surface yet, but it's cracking on one of the ears that's on the outside. All right, looks like I'm at the place where I can start taking some of these injector wires off and some of this wiring harness out. Okay. This should be interesting. So before I go ahead and take everything apart, I'm going to make sure that the injector harness I have will fit on there. So it is definitely a different style clip. Yeah, it looks the same. Just different style, different way that it holds it on. Okay, so all these wires need to come out. I need to take out the injector wires, coolant sensor wire, everything that's going to be replaced. So we're going to go ahead and take everything apart. All right, well, I think I got everything off the front of the engine for this side. Now I get to do the next side. There's a lot of things that need to be disconnected underneath the car as well. So I had to get under there, take out, looks like the oil pressure sensor, the aftermarket one, the stock one, and then all that wiring's coming out. Now, gotta figure out where the rest of this wiring goes and take care of that. But this is definitely a decent sized project. Okay, so I got all these wires off up to the firewall. Now, a bunch more to take off. So I gotta take off some zip ties over here at the firewall. I should be on to the next step. It looks like there's a connector up here that I gotta take off, so I'll take that off. So this wire I think is going to, oh, it's all wired in. So after going through this, the wire, that red and white one that's going here, is just going into another bundle of tape. So it's just bundle after tape after bundle of tape. So if I were to guess, this is the wire that's going to a lot of the gauges. So I'm gonna have to split this open before I take everything apart. It's not ideal, but I'm gonna do that. The funny thing is I've seen people do this project in like an hour, but if you're in a car that's been modified at all, and it has wiring that's been modified over the years, it's not gonna take you an hour. For those of you wondering, I cut the wire. So I'm gonna have to figure out where that goes. I mean, it's a red and white wire. My guess is it's probably an ignition wire. Oh, please don't tell me there's another wire. Where's this guy going? This one's added after the fact too because it's just covered in tape again. So this one's probably going, I would assume, somewhere in here. Why? I don't know. This one is a blue wire. So for this one, I'm gonna cut it too. I can see the color, I can see where it's spliced in. I'm gonna leave this open here so I know that's where it's coming from. And now we are officially removed. All right, that's a lot of zip ties and tape removed. But to get to the next part of the project, we gotta take this out, which means we need to go underneath and in there, so that means the wheel needs to come off. I mean, part of the challenge here is I'm going through 21 years of modifications that we've done to this car and trying to remember what wiring goes where. So I guess if I thought through it, I probably would have kept a better wiring diagram, but all this needs to be sorted out before the Holley system can go in. So we're getting there. Alright, now I believe this inner fender needs to come off to be able to get to the wires, and they should be right back here, so it looks like it's just a few Phillips head screws. 1, 2, and then a few up front. I might be able to just pull it back here and see where we can get to. It does not look like it's secured on that side or underneath. Alright, so under here, wires come through up there. They run forward and they run back. So there's a bunch more that I actually need to disconnect up in here that I don't exactly know what they go to, but all this needs to come apart. So I'm going to continue taking the wiring out to figure out where everything comes front and then up there as well. So my goal obviously wasn't to take everything apart, but what I'm finding is to get to the wiring, a lot of this needs to come out. Alright, so the next step in the wiring is all in here, so I need to trace these wires back, and it looks like it's going underneath all this stuff, so this will need to come out. I need to take out all the wires that probably go across here, and then work from there. But it's definitely a lot more than that needs to come out than I expected, but we're getting there. Alright, so I've spent like 15 minutes trying to figure out what's the easiest way to get this connector out, and, you know, and old connectors like this just don't want to come out. They're brittle, they break. We're gonna see what we can do. All right, we are all out. Took a while, but had to take off the intake hose here. The ABS module is out now. Now with all that out, all this wiring is here and ready to come out. It goes through the firewall back there. So to get in there, I'm gonna have to unbolt the things from inside there and then start taking apart the interior of this car. So one of the things I'm noticing while I'm working here is I'm really running out of room if I have 2 to 3 projects going. I actually have probably about 3 to 4 in total right now, but you know, I did order finally a new toolbox, something where I can actually get some more room and get a little bit more organized because it's starting to bother me that I have tools everywhere. My benches are getting completely full and I don't have enough room to work. So getting a little bit more organized here will definitely help out. All right, so inside the car, luckily everything's pretty much taken apart for us already. It's a little better. So had to take out some of these connectors. Factory ECU is inside of here. There is one bolt on the bottom that holds the connector in. I believe there's a bolt down here that holds the ECU in. Never mind, the ECU is not held in. So it looks like I'm just gonna be pulling this out and disconnecting that bolt. All right, so the ECU is disconnected. It does have the TwEECer unit in the back, so these wires are still in here. These can all come out, but need to cut these zip ties, and then this is out. All right, so the wiring is finally out. Definitely more complex and time consuming than I thought. The secret to getting this through the firewall was essentially just taking apart as much as I can up here, taking off the black plastic piece on this, and then I was able to fish it through. And on the inside, I ended up using a borescope to actually see what was in the way to be able to make it work. But the wiring is officially all out of the car. So now we're ready to start putting it back together. Okay, thanks for tuning in to Smackey's Garage this week. This was a big project to get all this wiring out so I can get on to the next steps to get everything back together. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can follow along with this project. I'll see you next time when we get the Holley system into this car and get it started.